So you're interested in Talaria MX4, but you don't really want to spend $4,700 because that's a lot of money, and I completely understand. So I'm here to give you a solution. And on top of that, it comes with a few extra like parts, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna get right down to it. I ordered a Talaria MX4 from Alibaba. Now the seller was Coolfly. I'm going to link them right in the description below, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. The ordering process will be, I'll put it in 5 steps. Now, the first step is going to Alibaba.com, making an account, and actually getting familiarized with what's going on. Essentially, Alibaba is a marketplace where you look for things that you want, and then you directly message the seller. And then the seller gets you a quote saying, hey, yeah, that item that you're looking for, we'll give it to you for this price. And then you have the option of saying, yes, I will take it. Or you can say, you know what, write to them, that price is a little high or whatever. Can you, make it this? And that's pretty much Alibaba. Now you go to Alibaba, you make an account. Now I'm going to link below the store that I used. I spoke to Andy with Coolfly. I've already ordered 3 bikes with him, and I gotta say he's pretty much been the most respectful one and the best quote that I've gotten from everyone that I checked out. So if you want to just save yourself time and still save some money, definitely just use Andy at Coolfly. If you mention me, it'll probably kind of know like, all right, he knows the process, and they'll kind of help you out. Now, when you talk to Andy, what you want to do is you want to give him your phone number and you want to give him your exact address, because he will quote you depending on that address. And the reason why I say give them the phone number as well, is that phone number that they use when they make the quote, they're going to put that in for the ship. Like all the shipping companies are going to have that phone number. So if anything happens, they will call that phone number. If you start changing things, it may like complicate the process. So right from the get-go, use a phone number that you're going to use, that you're like accessible with, and give them the exact shipping address that you want this big giant box with a bike inside of it to be delivered. Now, there will be 3 sections to the quote. There'll be the item that you're actually buying, but the bike. Next will be the shipping, right? And then next will be the Alibaba fee. Now, I will tell you exactly how much I paid. I actually paid $3,800 flat for everything. Now, it was $3,700 for the to get the item, including shipping. It was $3,700. Now date of today is mid-January of 2024. It was a little cheaper before, but like I said, I just put an order in recently and it was $3,700, but I had to pay an extra $100 because I used a PayPal credit card. Now I suggest paying the $100 just for like insurance purposes. Do not use the Alibaba bank transfer or wire transfer. I do not recommend that. You're actually kind of removing insurance for yourself, if that makes sense. And I'll explain that real quick. Essentially, if something happens, I trust Andy completely, but you never know. It's such a long transit. Let's say they put it on the container and the container goes missing or explodes. I don't know, pirates take over the ship. You can still call your either credit card or PayPal and say, hey, never got this item, can you investigate? And they'll investigate and you'll get your money back. So that's why I pay the $100 worth of insurance, because it's $100, but I don't want to lose on $3,700 because I didn't want to spend $100. So that is, like I said, you're free to do whatever, but I'm telling you what I did. So I paid $3,800 and that was with the credit card fee. He quoted me $3,700. That's with shipping, that's with everything. So out the door, it was $3,800. Awesome, right? So that's the quote. That's step 1. The second step is paying for the quote. So now this is step 2. We're going to be using a credit card. Like I said, I use a credit card, but I use my PayPal account, which has my credit card on it. You don't have to do that. I just like having double insurance, essentially, like, because the price is the same whether you use a credit card or PayPal. I have my credit card added to my PayPal account, and then I use my PayPal account to pay for the item. If you don't have PayPal and you just want to use your credit card, that's fine too. But like I said, definitely at the end, it's coming out of your credit card. So I used a credit card, and that was hooked up to my PayPal. And then once you pay, it takes about 7 to 15 days for like the processing and everything to go through. They have to pretty much get the bike ready from their warehouse and get it shipped to the port. So that's going to be one tracking number there. So just be ready for that. That's pretty much step 2, is getting everything paid, making sure it goes through, because you never know, your credit card company might be like, hey, you're trying to pay someone in China, they might block it. So just give yourself some time and get ready to kind of pay the quote on Alibaba using your credit card. All right, now we go to step 3. Step 3, you paid for it, you know, everything went through. Now, technically the buyer doesn't have your money. Alibaba is holding on to your money until you get your item, correct? So now we're gonna wait about 7 to 15 days, and eventually you should be getting a tracking number from Andy, right? If there's essentially 3 tracking numbers. There's a tracking number from Andy's Coolfly's warehouse to the Chinese port. That's one tracking number. Then there's another tracking number that goes from like the port all the way to the US port. From the Chinese port to the US port. That will be a tracking number, like pretty much about the ship, and it'll give you an ETA and things like that. You might not get the first tracking number because Andy might be like, yeah, it's already on the ship. He'll let you know like, hey, it was shipped. So I usually don't get that first tracking number. I do get the tracking number saying, hey, it's on the ship and it's gonna take this long. Now, for step 3, you're also going to get, like, when you do get that tracking number, it may not immediately populate with a bunch of information. It might just be saying crate delivery, but just check on it every day. That will be step 3, checking every day since you got that tracking number, and you'll be able to start planning like, all right, it's on the container. I got this, you know, even though it's still in China, now you can start planning. It's on the container. I should be getting it like within 50 days, you know, something like that. So now I'm going to start kind of planning a little bit, start kind of like, all right, not take vacations in any of that time frame. Like any time from like 30 to 50 to 60 days, I'm just not taking I'm not going out of the country, right? So start kind of preparing for that. There's going to be a kind of like a little bit of a wait. And then eventually your item gets put on a container, and the container gets put on a ship at the Chinese port, and then it leaves the Chinese port and it goes to the US port. Now that can take anywhere from 15 days all the way to 30 days. It's just time. It's the sea, the weather, all that stuff. So at that point, that's when you're like, okay, now I know it's on the ship. Check tracking. Like I said, I check tracking every day. You never know, it might not change for a while, but it'll give you an ETA. It'll say expected to arrive at port on, and it'll give you a date. Now that can change. It could get there earlier, could get there later. So I still would check the tracking every single day. Now, once you see that it says arrived at US port, the US port is in California. It arrives into the US port. Now it's in California. Now you know, like, all right, I got to get ready for the end of step 3. So the end of step 3 is that now there's going to be another tracking number that goes from the port of the US port in Cali to your state. Okay. Now it may be a freight number, it may be a waybill, I think is what it's called. So just be ready for that. You may get the tracking on that, you might not. But once you see that it's been, you know, it's at the US customs and it's cleared, that's when I would hit up Andy and say, hey, can I get a tracking number? It's off the crate, the container. And he may say, hey, give me a few days, because he's also trying to get a tracking number as well. So give him some time and just kind of start preparing that you may get your item real soon. Now, if you're on the West Coast, I'm actually on the East Coast, but if you're on the West Coast, you're going to be getting your item like real soon. So be like prepared. If you're on the East Coast, it's going to be a little more time because it has to go from the West Coast LA port to a freight delivery company. And then that freight delivery company has to take it to your state, drop it off, and then from there, that some freight company in your state is going to say, yeah, we'll take it to this address, right? So once again, I'm just going to go over that really fast. It's going to, remember, it's going to go from the Coolfly warehouse to the Chinese port, right? And then from the Chinese port, it's going to get on a ship in a container on a ship, and it's going to go all the way to the US port in California, right? And then they still have to unload the container from the ship to that port, and then it has to clear customs. Once it clears customs, then it is released to a freight company that will either bring it to your state, or it might bring it right to your house too. So that's when you're pretty much tracking every single day. And make yourself like free, like just get ready. It could come tomorrow, could come in 10 days, could come in another month. But remember, it's very estimate, and I always, every time I kind of check the tracking, I always felt like I was like a day behind. So just be ready for a phone call at any moment, like, hey, your bike's like, hey, I'm here for a delivery. Just be ready for that, because that's what happened to me. Step 4 is where we arrange delivery. So I would once you get the tracking numbers, if you can, like hopefully you get enough time where you get tracking numbers and it'll say like the freight company. You got to do as much Google research as you can. It may have the freight company on there. You may get a weird tracking number, and it's a tracking number for that freight company. I know it's really weird, but essentially you're gonna try to find out what freight company has your package. And then I Googled it, and I just called them, and they're like, oh yeah, we've had your package for like a week. And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, it was already sitting there. It was like in there, you know what I mean? So I was like behind on tracking. But I called them, they had it for a week, and they're like, yeah, it's scheduled for delivery tomorrow. And essentially I was like, oh crap. Like, and they're like, yeah, anywhere from like 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it's almost like you got to be free that whole day, you know? So just arrange for that. Like, that's what happened to me, and I literally had to be there for delivery. Now, if you can get the freight company's number, you know, try to do as much research as you can. If you can't, just be ready for that call. Keep your phone on you. Keep whatever phone number you use, keep that always check it, see if like, all right. Because when I got a call, it was from an unknown number. It's not like I can get like, I got a call, I'm like, oh, I called it back. Like, I got an unknown number, I answered it, and it was like, hey, I'm here like outside, like delivering a bike. I'm delivering your shipment, right? So that is where that's the part that I would say is probably the hardest part, is step 4, because once it gets in the US, like it's kind of out of like Andy's hands, if that makes sense, you know, because he's like, I mean, it's already always out of his hands, but at that point it's like in the US hands, and like the freight companies are just following where to bring stuff, and it could go through 2 freight companies, go through 1 freight company, it can go through several freight companies. I've heard of people even getting like FedEx delivered it for them, like it's wild, you know, so someone's gonna pick it up. All right. So now step 5 is when you receive the actual item. Now, upon receiving the item, the guy pretty much just dropped it off in front of the garage, and I was like, hey man, can you bring it inside? He's like, no, I can't. He just left. So I was kind of like, dang. But if you can, try to be there, tell him where you want to put it. You know, you don't want to leave this outside. And at the same time, you want to inspect this package. You want to make sure that it's not like messed up. It just took a trip across the world. So mine came wrapped in plastic, and in literally like giant plastic black wrap. So upon delivery, if I were you, I would keep like a box cutter on you and just cut that off real quick, and just take a look at the box, make sure like the box looks good. You could even probably take the straps off and start like looking, you know, to be honest, I would try to keep the freight driver there before you can inspect the box. Mine said, sorry man, I got too much to do, and he just left. He did not care. But I inspected everything immediately to make sure everything's like okay. If it looks like the box was on fire, then I'm gonna, you know, kind of say something. But I checked everything. Like I said, I used the box cutter, I took the plastic bag off, and everything was cool. Like I was like, okay, the box looks great. I'm gonna post right here is where I put a picture of what I have. So I still have this is actually taken today. I still have the crate that it came on, and this is the box. All right, so yeah, it's pretty big. It's movable. If like you got to shimmy it inside, you could do it like by yourself maybe. But I would definitely get some help. It is pretty big. It's not something you could just pick up with like two hands and move it. You definitely have to like drag it, or you might not have the strength. You might have to get a friend to move it around. So that is my process. I got it. The one I got from Andy came with a screen, came with mirrors, came with instructions. Now the instructions were in Asian, or Mandarin, I should say. And I had to use my phone. I have a Android, and it has Google Translate, and I use Google Translate to like take photos of the directions, and it translated it to English. So I do suggest doing that. It came with tools to put it together, and I like it. The battery was like kind of charged, not fully charged, but like not dead either. So I was able to just like test it out right then and there, and everything was good. Now mine did come with a transformer and a charger, because the charger is meant for 220 volt or whatever they run in Asia or in Europe, and we don't run the same electricity. So I had that, and then you connect your charger to your transformer, and then transformer goes to your wall. So battery to charger, charger to transformer, transformer to the wall, you know, your outlet. The transformer is really heavy, guys. So just be careful, and it is kind of big. I do suggest just getting a US charger down the road. Even if you buy a US charger for $100, it's still cheaper to go the Alibaba route than it is to get this from a US dealer. Now, if this is all seems kind of crazy, and a little bit like, yeah, this is too much, then hey, get it from US dealer. Plenty of US dealers. Just know that, yeah, you're getting it quicker, you're getting it from a US dealer, but I have yet to see a US dealer that sells the full package with the screen and the mirrors and everything needed. So let me know what you guys think below. Just, you know, comment if you have any questions. I'll try to answer them. But yeah, that's pretty much my experience. I'm on my third bike, and that is that. So I hope that helped you decide whether you wanted a Talaria from Alibaba or from, you know, wherever your country that dealer is. I do suggest kind of just exploring and really weighing the quote versus what you would pay in your country. Like, I'm in the US. A lot of the times it's like $4,700 because of tax and shipping, and it's just so much. And you don't get the screen, you don't get the mirrors, you don't get the tail light, it's you know, you get a lot less. So just a heads up on that. So all right, everyone, thank you so much again for watching. If you can, just check me out on TikTok, Instagram, check me out on now YouTube.